Hello, my name is Laura, and this is the 15th episode of my knitting podcast. Today I have one actual finished object, and I have another object that I'm going to call finished, even though I still need to reknit an entire sleeve. But for the most part, it's finished, so I'm going to kind of count it. I've got 3 works in progress and 3 acquisitions, which is kind of a lot for me. I don't usually buy that much yarn within a certain window of time, but they're mostly gift knits, so I'll show you those at the end. But getting right into it, my first finished object is what I'm wearing, and this is my Tulip Loop Vest by Other Loops. I will start by talking about the pattern itself, and you'll have to forgive me, it has been a minute since I finished this. I just haven't filmed in a while, so I don't remember all the nitty-gritty details of it, but the pattern has 3 sizes, I believe, and I knit the first size, which is actually my first kind of thing I would change about this, which is not the pattern's fault. It's my fault for not gauge swatching and not picking the correct size for the fit that I was going for. So the vest turned out a good bit smaller than I wanted it to. It is more narrow and it is a lot shorter, and that's even after me adding a cable repeat to the body of the vest to try to make it a little bit longer. So that's on me for not making a bigger size, but the me issue aside, the pattern was fantastic, super easy to follow, very straightforward. And was this my first cable project? I think it was. I think this was my first all over cabled garment, and I would really recommend this pattern if this is your first time knitting cables, because it was super easy. Like, these cables are so simple. I don't think it gets any simpler than this as far as cables go. So what you do for the actual construction of the vest is you cast on the back panel, and I'm pretty sure, it's been a minute, but I'm pretty sure you knit short rows to shape the back, and then just like a normal kind of drop shoulder. Then you'll come to the front, pick up each of the front sides individually, and then you'll join in the round under the underarms. Now, and for this one, there's actually no finishing on the sleeves, and so what you do is you knit like the sleeve edges kind of at the same time, and it's just a panel of stockinette stitches, but the way you slip the stitches on the edge makes it look super neat, and it kind of curls under itself, so that's what gives it more of a finished and polished look. So no finishing really on the sleeves, but then you do go back and you pick up for the neckline, and that's just 1x1 ribbing. And around the body, the one modification that I made is I opted to not do the split hem like the pattern recommends, and that's just because I'm not really into split hems. I could see myself like knitting some split hems in like specific use cases, but just as a general rule of thumb, I don't really enjoy wearing them. So that was my one real pattern modification. Honestly, I put this on today after not having worn it in like a couple months probably, because it's just been so hot. But I put it on, and I think I want a bigger size. I don't know, like this t-shirt that I'm wearing underneath this is pretty big. So, and it like kind of, you know, scrunches in a little bit because like the armholes aren't like very deep, and it's also pretty narrow. So will I make a bigger size later on? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, like I said, it's a me thing. The pattern was beautiful. The only thing I would probably change if I go back and make another version of this is I would add a cable to the very top of the back. I'll insert a picture of what I mean, but there's like a pretty good stretch of just straight stockinette where you're doing like the short rows, where I definitely could see a cable going in just the middle of the 3 cables that are on the back. So that's one thing that I would probably change if I were to reknit this. And I don't know, it's too soon to say, but I really love the design of this, and I feel like I would get a little more wear out of something that is a little bigger and looser and baggier and whatever. But anyway, it's still gorgeous. For the yarn, this is probably where I hit a few snags with the project. So I knit this vest using Gepard Woolia, and these are not the same color, as you can tell, and that's because I overdyed this. I've mentioned this before, but I originally bought this Gepard Woolia in the color 102 Wheat to make a different garment, and I ended up not loving the color. It is more wheat colored than I thought it was going to be based on the pictures, but it is definitely like a more yellowy, light, pale, something wheat color. Like it's a great color name. So I had 15 balls of this from that project that I decided not to use. And so in an effort to use up some of that, I used 5 of those to make this vest, and then I just overdyed it. So I think it turned out pretty good. I have the swatch here. This is from when I swatched for that other project, but you can tell that the vest itself is a little bit darker than the swatch, and that's because I let the vest sit longer in the dye bath. I just used RIT dye in the color charcoal gray, I believe, and I love the color. I love how it turned out. So I don't know, overdying was a little stressful, but if I have to do it, now I feel confident. This is my second time overdying something, and I really, really love this finished object. But that being said, I don't think that I will be knitting with this yarn again. And I think that has more to do with me than it does the actual yarn, because this is very, very springy. It's a very, very springy yarn. I don't know if you can like maybe see that against the gray, maybe, but I think this contributed to my hand injury problems that I was having all the way back in March, and it was just uncomfortable for me to knit with, and I didn't really enjoy the process by the end of it. I was just very ready to get this off the needles and be done with it. Now that being said, I did knit my Northern Augustins number 4 also in Gepard Woolia, but I held that with a mohair, and so I think that made the knitting experience a little less springy and was therefore a little easier on my hands. So I have 10 balls of this in the color wheat that I am trying to get rid of. I listed it on my local Facebook marketplace and no one has bid yet. I've never tried to sell anything on Ravelry. Maybe I'll do that, I don't know. But if you're interested in 10 balls of Gepard Woolia, it really is a very soft and lovely yarn. It just is not the knitting experience for me, and specifically this is not the color for me, so if I were to use this I would have to overdye it again. But anyway, if you are looking for 10 balls of this, please DM me on Instagram and I would be happy to sell this to you. So there's that. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the construction and the yarn of the vest. Overall, I really love this, and oh man, I think I've convinced myself that I want to make another one, but in a bigger size. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe not this year, but maybe in the future. And I know I can definitely give this to someone in my life who would get some use out of it. But to round it all out, to talk about the cost of this project, I originally bought 15 balls of this for $7.50 each. And because I used 5 of these, that comes out to $37.50 for just the yarn for this project, which is pretty good. So I don't know, not as much as I thought it was going to be, actually. It's pretty good. That's not including the cost of the RIT dye, which I think was like $2 or $3, and then of course I had to buy the pattern. But you know, honestly, I don't really count the cost of patterns in my knitting because I always kind of see it as like, I don't know, a book, if that makes sense. Like you can go back and reread it, you can go back and reuse the pattern again. It's not like a one-time purchase, you know? So I find it, even though I will probably only knit most of my patterns one time, mentally, it's an investment, you know? It's not just a one-time purchase. So anyway, that's that. Very happy with my Tulip Loop Vest. Okay, now, moving into my second finished object. Like I said, I am actually not done with this. I need to reknit an entire sleeve, but as far as what it's mostly going to look like, I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you as a finished object. And honestly, this is the reason why I haven't filmed a podcast in so long, is because I was waiting to be done with this sweater before I filmed, and I just kept putting it off. So if I don't film, then I'll never film again. So the sweater that I'm talking about is actually the Cumulus Blouse by PetiteKnit. And this is what she looks like. Oh, this yarn, you guys. Okay, So everyone knows the Cumulus Blouse if you have been on knitting YouTube for any period of time. So just to say really quickly, it's a pattern by PetiteKnit. It is a raglan construction with a V-neck, and then for all of the finishing, you have an I-cord. You have an I-cord around the neck, you have an I-cord around the cuffs, and you have an I-cord around the body, and I love it. I think it is so beautiful and just elegant. Yeah, like elegant is the word I would put on it, and I think the yarn that I chose has a lot to do with that. So, the one thing I'll say on the pattern really quickly, I did make two modifications. The first of which is that in the version of the pattern that I have, I think she's updated this pattern a couple different times to kind of change how you do the I-cord, but in the pattern that I have, which I think is the most up-to-date version, she wants you to do decreases when you work the I-cord, and I'm not going to tell you what the decrease rate is just in case that's like too much giving away the pattern, but let's just say that she wanted you to decrease every 8 stitches. I decreased every 9 stitches. Now, the number that she gives is actually a lot smaller than that, and when I read that, I was like, that's insane. Like, that is such an insane decrease rate on the I-cord. Also, me who has never knit an I-cord on a body, like the bind off on a body of a sweater before, was just assuming that that was an insane decrease rate, and it kind of was. I started the first few following the rate that she recommended, and it was just going to cinch in more than I wanted it to. So I increased the rate by 1 stitch, and so I decreased 1 stitch less often, if that makes sense. So anyway, the body still kind of goes in a little bit at the bottom, but it's a little more relaxed than the pattern was intended. And I also followed that on the sleeves, I think. Don't really remember. And I don't know if I can tell. Maybe I can. Anyway, so that's that. And then for my second modification, this is the reason why it's not technically a finished object, but which sleeve did I knit? I knit the first sleeve to pattern. I always pick up 2 more stitches than patterns recommend just to kind of avoid having holes under the underarms, and that usually works out for me because I have longer arms than normal, and so I'll just add that as an extra pattern decrease repeat. Well, I did that, and did I take the stitch marker out? No, I did not. I got to here and was finished with all of the decreases, and then I had to knit 4 inches left of the sleeve for me to even get to like a reasonable length, and I just didn't like the look of it. Like, the whole sleeve came out to be a lot tighter than I wanted it to be, and I was really on the fence about like whether or not I should just like undo it and reknit it bigger. So what I did is I just knit the second sleeve bigger, and I love it. I love how this fits. And so I do need to go back and rip out this one and redo it with the lesser decrease rate. Anyway, I like doubled the amount of like rows that you put in between each decrease, just to get like a looser fit on this, and I ended with more stitches than the pattern recommends that you end with, which I also think my gauge was just tight on the sleeves anyway. All that to say, I still need to reknit the second sleeve to make it fit a little bit looser, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much a finished object, and I love it. It's super, super sweet. I'm not in a huge rush to reknit the sleeve because we are swiftly approaching the dead of summer, and not really, it's still only June, but it's very warm already. So I'm not really in a rush to reknit the sleeve because I'm not gonna be able to wear this for a very long time. So that's that. And now for the yarn. Okay, so the yarn that I used for this is really, I think, what makes this sweater for me. I keep calling it a sweater and not a blouse, but like it's quite heavy like a sweater, so that's probably how I'm gonna wear it. But what I used for this is Camellia Fiber Company, and this is their CFC Suri lace, and it is 74% baby Suri alpaca and 26% mulberry silk. This is my first time knitting with Suri lace instead of a lace weight mohair. I think I might be converted. This is so soft. It's so expensive. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I had to buy 6 of these, 6 50-gram skeins, and they were $31 each, and then there was also a little bit of tax in there, and so I paid a grand total of $203 to make this blouse, which is, I think, the most expensive project I've ever knit. So there's that. And dare I say it was worth it. It is so soft. I haven't blocked this yet. Honestly, will I? Yeah, I might block it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's so soft. I don't think it's really going to change shape that much. It might. But it is just scrumptious and beautiful and fluffy. And it's definitely, even though it's a lace weight yarn, it is thicker than a mohair. So the Cumulus blouse is not quite as open as I think the pattern intended for it to be. But I personally like that better, just so I can feel comfortable about it not being see-through. And yeah, it's just lovely. New bad habit unlocked. Suri lace is lovely. And honestly, Camellia Fiber Company, I did not know it was local to Nashville. They have a physical store. I got this yarn at the Nashville Fiber Festival a couple months back, and I didn't realize that they have a physical store. So I don't get up to Nashville very often, but maybe I need to go check these guys out. And yeah, I'm in love with their Suri lace, at least. I haven't tried any of their other yarns. But as far as a hand-dyed, by the way, this yarn is hand-dyed, and it is so consistent. I did spend a little bit of time at the actual festival, like holding up all of my skeins side by side to make sure they were pretty much the same color. But y'all, I did not alternate skeins even a little bit. I thought about it for 2 seconds, and then after holding up all the skeins next to each other, I was like, that's too much work for no reason, because I can't tell where the skeins transitioned, and maybe you can, but don't tell me, because I think it's beautiful. I don't think I can tell at all. And yeah, it's just beautiful. For a hand-dyed yarn to be that consistent, I think is super, super awesome. So that is my Cumulus blouse by PetiteKnit. Okay, moving into works in progress. I have 3 works in progress. Now, the one I'm about to show you is almost done. And that is because I have been frantically knitting on this thing for a while. Now, I didn't buy. My husband bought me some Knitting for Olive heavy merino as a Christmas gift, and I had originally planned to make a sweater number 23 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and that is what I cast on. But I was working on the back panel and just not really being in love with the process of knitting that, and I was also having to change so much about the pattern to try and get the desired effect that I was going for, and I was just not really having a great time with it. Also, at the same time, I am like at work, and it's like getting a little bit warmer, so I don't really like have to wear like long sleeves to work. But when I'm on a construction site right now, so when I'm in the construction trailer and the AC is like blasting, it can get like a little bit cold. And so I was like, I need a cardigan. I have a couple hand knitted cardigans, but I don't have one without mohair in it. That's a lie. I don't have one without mohair in it that I feel is sturdy enough to take and wear every single day to work. So what I did is I ripped out my sweater number 23, or the start of it, and I cast on another My Favorite Things Knitwear pattern, and this is cardigan number 10. So here she is. It's almost completely done. I frantically have been knitting on this thing. So this cardigan has the same kind of increase on the shoulder that I really loved about the sweater number 23. It's just a lot shorter. So what this cardigan does is you cast on the back panel and you do these really cool increases with some like slip stitches along here to make this like, I don't know, you can see like kind of lines of slip stitches. It's just a cool design feature. And so you'll do the back panel and then you'll pick up for the front panel and do some knitting, but then eventually you join the back and front together while you're still on top of the sleeves, and it's a contiguous style construction, meaning you're working like the front, the sleeve, and the back all at the same time, going back and forth, and then eventually you do split for sleeves. And honestly, a really fun construction. And yeah, so far I think it's looking really sweet. This really needs to block out around the shoulder, but I think it will. I hope it will. But based on the pictures that I've seen, I think this is going to be super lovely. So that's what this looks like so far. I have the second sleeve left to go. I'm about halfway through it, and then I still have to do the button band, but otherwise everything else is pretty much done. So yeah, that's what she looks like. I have made a few different modifications to this pattern. So this pattern wants you to do waist shaping on the body of the cardigan, and I decided to omit that and just knit straight because it's a cardigan that I'm going to be wearing open most of the time. So I didn't really see the need to do the waist shaping. Plus also I did want this to be like a little looser, a little baggier, and anyway, just I omitted the waist shaping. And then the other thing that I did is on the sleeves, I completely changed the style of the sleeves. So the pattern wants you to knit straight for a while and then do some increases to create kind of a bell sleeve and just have like a pretty wide sleeve, which would be super beautiful, but not quite as practical as I was going for. As I said, I want this to be more of a work sweater that I can just throw on like for a few minute intervals, and I thought something with a slightly tapered sleeve would be a little more practical for me, and so that's what I did. I invented my own decrease rate, which was where I started out decreasing every 10 stitches and then felt like I knit like half a sleeve, and that was a little too, it was going to be too narrow by the time I got to the end of it, so I ripped back most of it. So my first decrease is every 10th stitch, is on the first 10 stitches, and then I did decrease every 20 stitches for a total of 5 decrease rounds. So I only decreased 10 stitches throughout the length of the whole sleeve, but I think it is the perfect amount of tapering. Like, it's still a very wide and loose sleeve, and it especially will be after I block it, but it's got just a little bit of a taper to it, which makes it a little more practical, I think. So that's that, and I've got the second sleeve going the same way. And then the final modification that I made to this pattern is the ribbing style. The pattern wants you to do, I believe it's half fisherman's rib, and the pattern photos look really good, but I didn't have the needle size that she says to use in the pattern. Like, it says to go down an insane number of needle sizes, and I just don't have a needle that's that small. Well, I don't have one that's that size. I have smaller sock needles. Anyway, I didn't have that, but I still tried the half fisherman's rib on the smallest needles that I had that were reasonable, and it was just turning out ugly. I don't have any pictures of it. I should have taken some pictures, but I was like halfway through the cuff and I was like, this is pretty ugly. I think it's a me issue because her pattern photos look amazing. And so I did decide to rip out the half fisherman's rib, and then I tried knitting half twisted rib because I had never done that before, and I was like, it's kind of a fancy cardigan. It's got like cool, I don't know, like little increases that you can see, so I should probably try to like stylistically make the cuffs really cool too. These are the increases I'm talking about. I hope you can see that. You'll be able to see it better once I have the button band on, but anyway, it's got like little things that come out. It's really cool. Anyway, I was like, stylistically, I think the cuffs need to be a little bit cooler than just like normal 1x1 ribbing, and so I tried half twisted rib, and it just looked too intense, if that makes sense. Like, I want the overall vibe of this cardigan to be like pretty loose, pretty casual, just throw it on top of what you're wearing, and the half twisted rib was a little too intense for that look that I was going for, and so ripped that back and did just regular 1x1 ribbing, and I'm really happy with it. Like, I don't know, there's just something about 1x1 ribbing that it's just simple, it's straightforward, I love it, and I think it flows enough. Like, it matches the overall vibe of the cardigan and what I was going for. So that's what I did. I still think the half fisherman's rib, I think it's half fisherman's rib, I don't know. I think it would have looked really good if I'd had the right needle size and if I was doing it correctly. There's a chance I was just doing it wrong. But for mine, I'm just gonna do regular 1x1 ribbing and everything. I don't think I mentioned it, but again, the yarn is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, and this is the color Poppy Blue. And also, I love Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. It is just a sturdy yarn, which is why I wanted to make this a more like everyday cardigan that I know it can like hold up to the heavy use of that while also being comfortable. But also, kind of a note on the color, this is a very intense blue. Like, it's very vibrant, it's sweet. I think it's really, really lovely. And so I know some people really try to prioritize like neutrals or making something fit into like their everyday wardrobe. And for me, I also try to do the same, but like in my own way, which is that if I like something, I'm gonna wear it. And I don't really have like a standard uniform of colors that I try to stick to. So all that being said, yes, this is a very intense blue, but I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. I just know it. And also, the reason I've been frantically knitting on this is I have arbitrarily assigned my deadline for this cardigan as the 4th of July because I want to be able to wear a blue cardigan on the 4th of July. It's gonna be way too hot, but just in case it gets cool, I'll have my blue cardigan to wear. So anyway, that is that. I am absolutely loving that piece. I don't have buttons picked out for it yet, but what I like to do is completely finish the garment and then go pick out my buttons so I can bring it with me. I don't know if that will happen because I kind of need to have the buttons to decide how big to make the buttonholes, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So there's that. Okay, I'm just going to quickly show you my next work in progress because I have been working on this one for over a year at this point. And this is my Cumulus Tee by PetiteKnit. Now, I can already tell that I am going to love this finished object, but working on 3mm needles is just not the most exciting thing in the world because the progress is so slow. But I am so close to being done with this. I want the body to be a little bit longer, and then I still have to do the sleeves and the neckline, so honestly I still have a lot of knitting left to do on this. But I have picked this back up again after setting it down all winter. So I just wanted to show you this, maybe mostly to keep myself accountable, but I am going to try to finish this before the end of summer. So that is this. I can already tell that I'm going to love it, and that has a lot to do with the yarn. So I'm using Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino for this in the color navy blue, and this is a 70% organic cotton and a 30% extra fine merino wool. It's super awesome to knit with. It's really comfortable on my hands, and really it's just the needle size and the fact that it's so slow going. Like, that's the reason why I haven't really been working on it, but I am gonna work on it a little more now. Also, this makes me want another garment in the cotton merino, but not on 3mm needles. Like, I think I would want to hold this double and make like a summer t-shirt or something. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I'll think about it for a little bit longer, but I do really, really enjoy at least working with this yarn. And I kind of have a feeling that I'm going to love wearing this yarn as well. So that is that. All right. My last work in progress gets me into my first acquisition, and I'll show you the yarn first. Well, I'll show you my first 2 acquisitions because it's the same yarn but in different colors. So I mentioned my best friend is turning 25 in a couple of months, and she and I have also been planning like a little trip to go to Universal Studios. We don't know when we're gonna go yet, but we've been talking about it for a while, and it's gonna happen eventually, hopefully this year. But I thought it would be really fun to make us matching sweaters for that trip. Now, the trip probably won't happen until like late fall, but her birthday is in August, and so I was gonna see if I could like maybe get her sweater done to give it to her on her birthday. I don't know, but I'm working on it. So the yarn that I bought for this, I let her pick out her color, by the way, and do a quick guess and see which one you think is for me and which one you think is for her. It's gonna be matching sweaters, as in like the pattern is the same, but the yarn, like we picked out our own yarn colors. So this is Lucky Tweed by Kelbourne Woolens. And here's the yarn. Let me hold it up. Look how pretty that is. It is stunning. Spoiler alert, mine's the purple one. She is blonde and like warmer toned, so she went for this beautiful orange tweed. It is the color Rust, and it's got like red flecks and yellow flecks and maybe a little bit of green in there and gold. It's so beautiful. I was really tempted to pick this color myself, but I just know it might not be like my best color. So, and then for myself, I picked the color Raisin, which is, oh, it's so stunning. It's this deep purple, but then it's got flecks of like fuchsia, pink, some lighter purples, some greens, some like, I don't know, like it's just beautiful. And so that is this. And these are both 100% merino wool made in Ireland. And I don't know, it's so fun. It's so fun. I really had a great time picking out this yarn. I bought 5 of each color, and I think that'll be enough to make a sweater. I really hope so, because it was pretty expensive. But like I said, half of this is a gift knit, and so of course I cast on my own sweater first, because I have to see if I like the pattern. I just really wanted to cast on the purple yarn, okay? What I think I'm gonna do is go back and forth and do like the yoke of this sweater and then the yoke of her sweater and then like the sleeve and a sleeve, and you know, go back and forth so that they kind of finish at the same time. At least that's what I'm telling myself. But anyway, the sweater that I have picked out to knit for us is the Cloud Sweater by PetiteKnit. And here is the start of the back panel on mine. It is so pretty, and you can't see it very well. Let me hold it up. Maybe you can see how all the flecks are kind of coming together. When I first started knitting on this, I was having such a good time. Just like, I mean, I still am, but just like seeing all of the colors come together is so exciting and gorgeous. And it's also funny, I'm knitting on my cardigan number 10 at the same time with the Knitting for Olive. And whenever I knit on this, I'm like, wow, this is a pretty dry, and not rough yarn, but it's pretty dry. But then immediately knitting on this afterwards, I'm like, okay, so this is a dry yarn and a little bit rough, but it's still soft, like it's still a merino wool. It's not itchy, but it is definitely dry. I can see this blocking out and like transforming in blocking. Like I can tell this is going to change significantly. So anyway, this is what the top of the back panel is looking like so far. And for those who are curious, the reason that I picked the Cloud Sweater is because, like I mentioned, we are going to Universal Studios at some point, hopefully this year. And if you know Universal Studios, it's got Harry Potter World in the park. And the Cloud Sweater by PetiteKnit kind of looks like a Weasley sweater, which is like kind of ridiculous. I have like a pattern for the Weasley sweater and I've made it a couple times, but I really wanted a top-down construction in something that I know I'm gonna be super confident in the fit of, and so that's why I picked a PetiteKnit sweater. And it's got the curled, really the only thing that makes it a Weasley sweater is it's a drop down, it's like a drop shoulder construction with a like curl or a like just a plain stockinette neckband instead of like anything with ribbing, just where it like curls on itself. Like that's really it. So I could have picked any pattern, but I chose the Cloud Sweater because it on purpose has like the rolled neckband. So I am not going to put the big letter on each of them, but I'm considering putting like our monogram over the left breast. I don't know if I'll do just like our first initial, like do like an L for, oh, here's what I was thinking. I was thinking that for my sweater, it's gonna be like mostly purple. It's gonna be 100% purple, and then do my initial in her color, and then vice versa. Like she's gonna have the orange sweater with like a purple initial. I don't know yet. It might be a little too on the nose. Like I said, it would be like just a little tiny thing, but I'm considering it. I would do it in duplicate stitch, so I might do it on my sweater, see if I like it, and then I can always just take it out if I think it's too tacky. So anyway, that is that acquisition. I'm super excited about it. One thing I've noticed about myself is that I really enjoy knitting with a purpose, not necessarily with a deadline, because I feel like deadlines can be pretty arbitrary, but knitting with a specific use case in mind really motivates me to get through a project. That's why I'm not like super worried to reknit the sleeve on this guy, is because, you know, it's a beautiful sweater, but it's another sweater, right? But like my blue cardigan, I'm gonna be able to wear this to work every day, which I do want to have that as soon as possible. This I want to wear to Universal Studios and to give to my best friend as a birthday gift. So it's like knitting with something like an end use in mind is really motivating for me, I'm finding. And I don't know, you guys might feel similarly. But anyway, that is that acquisition. For my last acquisition, this is another gift knit. And I have officially decided that after being married for almost 3 years now, it's time to knit my husband a sweater. He says it all the time. He's like, he'll make, not like seriously, but he'll kind of make passing comments about like, so like when you gonna knit me a sweater? And I hadn't really thought about it because he's very sensitive to materials. Like he does not appreciate having anything even remotely itchy touching him. And so that was kind of the reason why I just wasn't even considering it, because I want to knit him something with natural fibers, but I have a feeling he's going to find almost all of those to be itchy, and I'm not going to make him a cashmere sweater because he's probably going to abuse it and ruin the cashmere. So I settled on the zipper sweater Man by PetiteKnit as his first hand knit garment from me, and that's because he's always going to have something under it, like a white t-shirt, maybe even a long sleeve, whatever, and he can unzip it to where it's not touching his neck at all. So that is my goal, to knit a zipper sweater for him. And the yarn that I chose for this is so commonly used in gift knits that I was thinking it's probably very commonly used for a good reason. And so I picked up Cascade 220 by Cascade Yarns. And this is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And I believe it's non-superwash. Yeah, because it says hand wash. So, and it's really soft. Like I would say it's softer than the Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive. But essentially I had made my Lulu Slipover Chunky in Blue Sky Fibers, which is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and I had him feel that, and I said, this is what this type of fiber generally feels like. Do you think you can tolerate this? And he was like, yep, I can definitely wear this. And this is softer, which I'm really grateful for. So I think this is gonna be pretty soft, but it also feels sturdy, like it's pretty dry. And I think this would be a great outerwear piece for him to wear. And I kind of have a deadline in mind for this. We are going to Ireland this year. We try to do one big trip a year, and that is closer to the end of the year. And so I was thinking maybe I could have his sweater done in time for that, but also it's a men's sweater, and time is flying way faster this year than it has for me in any year before this. So I don't know if that's gonna happen. At the very least, it'll be a Christmas present. I think I can get it done before then. I need to cast it on. But anyway, this is my last acquisition. Oh, by the way, this is the color, does it even say? I don't know if it has a specific color name, but it is just navy blue. It's just a navy blue yarn. He picked it out. Here's the swatch. And yeah, I think it's gonna be super, super lovely. But anyway, that is that. A couple of gift knits. I don't usually do this many gift knits, but like I said, almost 3 years of marriage now. Next month is our 3-year wedding anniversary. So I think it's time that my husband gets one. And then also, obviously, my best friend is very knit worthy. And the first thing I said to her when I picked out this, like when I was kind of like talking about it, is I want to make this in natural fibers. How do you feel about merino wool? And she goes, I love merino wool. And she doesn't knit. She kind of crochets, but like not really. So I was like, great, super knit worthy. We can work with this. So I'll still teach her how to take care of the sweater and everything. But yeah, that is all I have to share for this podcast. Thank you so much for knitting along with me as I talked through these projects and these yarns. I'm super excited to finish all the things that I have on my needles right now. So anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic June so far and staying cool wherever you are. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.